Okay, my dear friends, so I will first introduce myself and then I introduce my co-speaker, my close friend and my coach. So my name is Mila Khabirova and I believe that some of you may not know me because you have come today for the first time. And I have been teaching English for about 20 years now in absolutely different environments. I started 20 years ago as a teacher in a public school, and then I moved to a private school, and then to a language school, and then I worked as a university teacher and an assistant professor, and then I was the director of studies of my own language school. And finally, I ended up with being a head of an internet project, helping adults to learn English and helping teachers to teach English online effectively. And today we are going to have a slightly unusual webinar because normally you have the slides and there are speakers telling you how to do something. Today we are going to have an absolutely different format because we're going to have a conversation. Let's imagine that we are somewhere at, let's say, John's living room, because my living room is not comfortable enough. But let's imagine that we are visiting my friend all together, sitting in a comfortable living room, and we are going to have a conversation. And we are going to talk about a very important topic. We will talk about competition because this is something that terrifies most of the teachers I know. When we imagine we really want to go online, because when we teach online, that gives us a lot of opportunities for teaching people all over the world and not being limited, well, with some specific territory, with our district, with our town. But at the same time, we understand that the competition is fierce. If you register on some website like Italki, you will see thousands and thousands of teachers with absolutely different qualifications. Some of them are native speakers, some of them are highly professional with lots of diplomas and certificates and everything. And many teachers feel very uneasy about going there and trying anything there. So today we are going to talk about how to cope with the fear of competition and how to find our own students, because I sincerely believe that for every teacher there is a specific student, and the only thing you must do is to find this person. And today I have invited my very close friend, my coach, and the person whose advice and recommendations I really appreciate. He has a very diverse experience. He is a writer and an author of um, many books, some of which sold with more than 1 million copies. And we have been in partnership for a very long time. I worked with him as a translator and interpreter, and he's also my coach. He helps me to develop professionally and as a business person and as a person who is really interested in personal growth and self-development. So here he is, John Milton Fogg, the person who I really appreciate. And I would like to talk to him today about the problem of competition. If you have your own questions, you are welcome to ask them. Let's really make it not into a webinar, but into a conversation, despite the fact that we have to use online technology to do that. Let's make it a real conversation. So, John, help us, please. Tell us some effective ways to fight the fear of competition.
Okay. It is smart business to know your competition and the people you're working with, Mila, it may be worth doing at some point to have a session where, with your knowledge, your 20 years of history in this business, and with the marketing knowledge that you've got, you can speak with these people about what you see as the competition out there, how it looks and feels, what are people doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because it's always wise to know what the competition is doing. That does not mean anything other than you knowing what they're doing. It does not, knowing what they're doing should not dictate to you how you operate. It's just important for you to be aware of what your competition is doing. The more aware you are of that, the more you understand your market, the better off you are. It's much more important to understand the men and women who are your customers than it is to understand what your competition is doing. One of the things I've taught, and this is, I come from 30 years in direct sales and network marketing, which is a very person-to-person relationship-based business. I suspect that, and I've also offered courses and coaching and have done those as businesses. So I'm fairly certain that the knowledge from one of these areas into another one is quite transferable. At least it's a great place to start. And one of the things that I have recommended for many years to people in direct sales is that most of the people who come into a direct sales network marketing opportunity, they are not professional sales people. They're not professional marketing people. They're usually someone who is really excited about the products or is excited about the business possibility of owning their own business. And so my best piece of advice for these people is market to yourself. And I think this is a very important idea for you all to really consider. Is the first place to look for how to speak to prospective customers, how to position yourself uniquely in this market of teaching English. Teaching English as a second language is to look for people. I mean, you got interested in English for reasons. And the easiest people for you to connect with will be people who share those same reasons. The easiest people for you to understand how to talk to, whether that means a headline on an advertisement or the copy on a website or an actual conversation, is really connecting with those people, their needs and wants and their values. Well, you already have a knowledge of the needs and wants you had when you wanted to get in and get more serious and learn about English. You have a sense of what's most important to you. You also have a sense, better than anyone in the whole world. I mean, you are the #1 leading expert on what appeals to you. on your own values. No one else in the world, no great market research company knows more about you than you do. And so when you take this approach, what you're now doing is you're not reaching out to the world to convince or persuade people. You're reaching out into the world simply looking for people who are like you, people who share your values, people who want what you wanted when you first were looking for more education and being able to speak English better and more and better. That's who you're looking for. And you know you. And so now you're looking for people who are very much like you. And if you think about it, whether we're talking a physical geography or an online geography, which of course is much, much, much bigger, how many people are there out there who share the same needs and wants regarding learning English that you've had? How many people are out there who share similar values, reasons why they want to learn English, why they want to get much better at English, what goals they have for speaking English, what speaking English more and better with your help is going to provide for them? You know that stuff better than anyone in the world. And now you're just looking for people like you. And so on your website, in your promotional copy, with your emails, and with your conversations, you are using and coming from what you already know. And so that, I think, is the most important idea to share with you. Don't attempt to be somebody else. Be you. You're unique. You're special. And that's what you want to be able to communicate. Because the way I recommend that you prospect and that you attract and enroll people is based on your relationship. And that's always a conversation. So you're going to be having a conversation, whether it's a web copy or headlines or emails or text messages or phone calls or live and in person with a mask, of course. It's a conversation. And so that's, I think, what's most important for you to focus on. Be aware of what the competition is doing and be clear about what you want to achieve. I think for most of you right now, even if your vision is ultimately some time from now, you want to have a group of thousands of men and women online learning English from you and from the people you've trained to teach them. Even if your vision is that big, most all of you, I'm guessing, and Mila, you can correct me if I'm wrong, most all of you are now starting from a much smaller position than that. And the great news about that is it is more personal and it's far more manageable. And you will then, with that kind of beginning, begin to grow and develop your own unique presentation. You'll find what works and what doesn't work. You'll be creating and adjusting, creating and adjusting, creating and adjusting. And someone just commented here, thanks for your position. It helps me to believe in myself. You know, and thank you for your thank you. And you make I can't read the Russian. So Mila, can you tell me that person?
Irina.
Irina, thank you, because you touched on the single most important thing going on right now for every single one of you on this webinar. I see the number 45 minus 2 with Mila and me. So we got, my math is not that good. That makes 42.
Yeah,
So there are
exactly.
43 of you out there, and I'm going to tell each and every one of you the single most important thing is what you believe, what you, and hear this as it's said because it's unique. What you think about yourself as an English teacher is the single most important thing going on right now, not the damn competition.
You know, I have heard you saying this phrase market to yourself so many times, but I have never heard about it, being applied to teaching. And now I started thinking about people I get on best when I teach. And I realized that there are actually like three categories of people. These are teenagers who want to know English because they're interested in pop culture, because that was my story. I really started learning English seriously because I wanted to understand the lyrics and the songs. And then I found out, because it seemed to me that in English it must be something very, very clever. And then I learned English, I understood the meaning. That was nothing very clever. Everything was about love. but, but that was my motivation. And I work best with such teenagers. And I also work very well with people who are um, very active in their lifestyle, usually sports people, professional athletes, people who spend a lot of time outdoors. And this is probably because it is also a part of my own personality. But I have never thought about this correlation before, which is interesting.
Um,
John, what's, yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
Looking in the chat,
Yeah,
after Irina, what is the lady's name?
Milena.
Miljana.
Milena. Mm-hmm.
Miljana. Did I do that right? And then God bless
Yes.
Anna. All right. Thank you both. Both of you touched on something. Confidence. So, how we normally develop confidence is by way of competence. Competence equals confidence. That makes sense, right? I mean, that's quite rational and normal. And that is a totally left brained deal. That's your ego, your left brain, your intellectual, analytical, rational mind says competence equals confidence. And so what you do, and I know that's an accusation, and I apologize, not really. What we all do is we go out and learn more. Learn, 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 get more competence, study more, more experience, etc., etc., etc. That's not where that problem lives. Confidence lives in your belief about yourself. It doesn't live in simply acquiring more knowledge and more experience. Because what you're going to find out is that unless you deal with your beliefs about you, you as an English teacher, you as someone useful and valuable who's got a passion for the success of your students, that's the thing that matters. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you've got. You can find yourself now 10 years out from today, 10 years out, and you still don't have confidence. But look at all the wonderful knowledge you've got, because it's not about competence or confidence. It's about your sense of yourself, your beliefs about you. That's what's going to create the confidence. And absolutely, we love evidence, that, oh, I am becoming more confident. I just had this conversation with this student, and it started out, she was really difficult, but boy, we just started to talk and we got along. Wow, this works. Of course, we like evidence. We want to see that we're progressing, that we're getting better and better at what we're doing. But that is a matter of your own sense of yourself. That's a matter of your beliefs in you. And you need to be in a position of trusting you, trusting your ability, trusting that you can achieve for the men and women who hire you, that you can achieve for them the kinds of results that they want.
John, I want to tell Milena a short but very interesting story, which is on the same track that she is talking about. There was one lady whose name was Kato Long. I think that many of you might have heard about her because she was the first simultaneous interpreter in the 20th century. A person who could speak more than 20 languages, and she worked as an interpreter with 16. But what was most interesting about her is that she learned all foreign languages as a grown-up person, as an adult. And she actually wasn't a linguist. She had a university degree in chemistry. But when she was in her early 20s, she decided that she didn't care about chemistry and she wanted to change her job. And she decided that she really, and not long before, she had discovered her passion for foreign languages. And she decided that she wanted her job to be connected with languages. And one of the most natural opportunities was teaching languages. But she lived in a very small town in Hungary. And at that time, she knew Latin. Well, as a person who had a degree in chemistry, and she could speak French. So she could teach Latin and French. But unfortunately, in the town where she lived, nobody wanted to study Latin. And there were very few people who wanted to study French. However, there were a lot of people who wanted to study English. The problem was Catalan didn't speak English. And then she decided that maybe it was high time for her to learn English. And that's what she did. She started learning English. And in about 1 month after she had started learning English, she started teaching English. And sometimes she was just 2 or 3 topics ahead of her students. But when 20 years later, she wrote a book about her experience of learning languages, and that's an amazing experience because she managed to master some of the most complicated languages in the world. But when 20 years later, she wrote a book about it, about the way she progressed, about the way she discovered her passion, and about the way to learn languages, she wrote that she was never, ever ashamed about her lack of knowledge. And he was never worried about whether she could take money from people for teaching them or not, because she had so much determination and commitment to make them passionate about languages. And she was so eager to share her passion with them. And she did so much to ignite that passion that all her students finally could speak English, despite the point that she was not very competent at speaking English herself at that time. So that's interesting. I will tell you sincerely that I would probably never have such an amount of courage to teach a language which I do not speak fluently. But this is not what really matters. Well, she had enough courage, and she really made her students learn English successfully. And sometimes what you can do in terms of your skills, not as a teacher, but as a user of some language, as a speaker of some language. And what you can teach your students are very different things. So that's just a little story. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you and I have discussed that is a concern of many of the people that you're working with now is how do I, as a someone who is born speaking Russian or Ukrainian or whatever it is that you speak, most people are predominantly Russian speaking. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And so English is an additional language, maybe your second language, maybe your third or 12th or whatever, but it's not your native tongue. And so you've got a thought, which is how could I possibly compete with native English speakers teaching English? I just, I'm nowhere near as knowledgeable, as conversant with the grammar and the nuances and blah, 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 vocabulary, all that stuff. And so please understand one thing. Like me, I'm a native English speaker. I do not have more than one or two little clues about what it's like to be a Russian-speaking person trying to learn English. I don't know what the Russian speakers' concerns are. I don't know and don't know how to navigate the differences in culture and language and how things are expressed. I just don't have a clue. No native speaker ever will. So the truth of the matter is, compared to an English native speaker versus you are much more useful and valuable to your students than that native speaker is, because you really understand what their concerns are. You understand the uniqueness of the language, their native language, Russian, and how different English is. We native speakers, we don't know that. We don't have a clue, but you do. So the truth of the matter is, that is not a disadvantage. That is a really strong advantage you've got. And try to see it that way, please, because that's accurate.
Great. Thanks. I think this is a very, very valuable piece, because I'm really tired of teachers saying, there are so many native speakers teaching English, we will never have enough students. There are enough students for everyone in this world. It's just important to know who you want to teach.
Well, in this day and age, especially with the internet, English is the most in-demand language around the world. That's not the arrogant American speaking. That's just, I've been blessed to travel all around the world. I've done business all around the world. And I just know how many people need to speak English in order to further their lives from a social perspective all the way to being able to do international business, science, studies, etc. English is the most useful, desirable language. So your market is in truth infinite. What's more important, it's almost like, playing cards. You've got these cards in your hand, and it's the winning hands are all out there. It's you being able to focus and play what you've got, your hand, play that well. Don't, because you've got, I mean, if you think, going back to market to yourself, how many people within 100 miles of where you live have the same desire for learning English that you had similar needs and wants, or needs and wants you truly understand, and who share some of your values in life? How many people like you are there within 100 miles or 200 miles or 300 miles? Now, perhaps you live out, on the far edge of a forest in Siberia, but unless that's where you live, those numbers are hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of people that you can reach out to and connect with, who want what you've got, and your need is to connect with them. And you do that best by being authentic about who and how you are, and learning who and how they are, and seeing if there's a fit. What you're looking for as a student is, you're looking for a fit. I tell this story, and if there are men listening in on this call, you may not be able to relate to my story, and I apologize. And the reason I say that is because my story is about shoes, and most men don't give a damn about shoes. But in my life, I've never met a woman who didn't love shoes. And the cooler, the better, the more unique and special and sexy the shoes are, the more the women cared about them. And so this story is that a woman goes into a shopping area, and she's got a very favorite shoe store, and she goes to this shoe store, and she never misses a chance to window shop in the shoe store, to look at what they've got. And her eyes are caught by this pair of shoes that she just thinks are the most beautiful shoes she's ever seen. And they're actually Japanese design, but they're made in Italy. And she picks them up, and they're like, oh, the leather is like butter, and the craftsmanship, the stitching is almost invisible. It's so tiny. And the shape of the shoe and the heel, she can just see what her leg is going to look, her ankle and her leg's going to look like wearing those shoes. And she turns them over and looks at the price, and they're $2,000. Now, I'm not suggesting this woman has a scarcity mentality, but she's just fairly practical and responsible. And she says, $2,000 for shoes is crazy. I'm not doing that. That's just too much. So she goes away. Of course, she can't get the shoes out of her mind, but she just goes away and says, okay, that's the way it is. Well, a couple of weeks later, she's back in that same shopping place. And all of a sudden, from very far away, she sees these huge sign in the store window that says sale. And her heart skips a beat. And she goes to that store as fast as she can without running. And she gets there, and sure enough, those shoes are still there. And sure enough, she turns them over, and there's a red line through the 2,000, and it says 200, 90% off. Oh my God. It's her birthday. This is the greatest thing in the world. So she sits down on the chair, and the clerk comes and uses that funny thing for her foot, measures her foot, and she's an 8. And the clerk goes into the back room and comes out with 3 boxes of shoes, a 4, a 10, and a 12. Does she buy the shoes? No. Why not? They're 90% off. They're the most beautiful shoes she's ever seen in her life. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, but she doesn't buy the shoes because they don't fit. They don't fit. And what you are doing when you are out in the world looking for students is you're looking for a fit. That fit with their needs and wants and between the two of you. That's what's most important, that fit. That's what you want to find. And that fit is unique to the two of you. And so really center yourself in your authenticity, in you being who you are, and connect with people, reach out with people to connect with them, because what they're going to buy isn't really a curriculum, an English language curriculum. They're going to buy you. That's who they're going to buy. And if there's a fit, that's what you want to explore with them. You want to show them, and you want to learn from them if there's a fit.
John, I have one question that I have wanted to ask you for ages.
Where
What's the best
do
way?
I find those shoes? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have a very funny story about shoes and my translation of your story, because once we were working at one conference and John provided this example, and when he said that the leather was like butter, I translated it into Russian, and there were a wife and a husband sitting in the front row, and when the man heard my translation, he turned to his wife and whispered very loudly, and I could hear him talking. And he said, "What the hell is she talking about? How could it be leather like butter?" And the woman turned around and said, "You stupid idiot, you don't understand anything in shoes." And it was so funny. Yeah, so that was very funny. No, the question is not about shoes. The question is about values. What's the best way to learn your own values? Because I know that sometimes I start talking to teachers, and they say, okay, it's nice, well, I know my values, I know my students values, but sometimes I do not know my values. So what's the best way to understand? Because when it comes to very important words like mission, vision, values, people sometimes get scared because the words are so big in their meaning that they simply do not want to think about it.
Well, a couple of simple exercises help. One of them is um, to make a list, for example. And for each one of you, you can do this. And it's very simple, and it's also fun. Make a list of 10 things in your life. And you can do 20, 30, 100 if you want. But just for the first round, pick 10. 10 things in your life that you appreciate, that you're really grateful for. So 10 things that you really appreciate, 10 things you're very thankful for, and make that list. And then after you enter a thing, let's say I'm grateful for my parents. Great. So you write down parents, and then comma, and the word because. I'm grateful for my parents because. I'm grateful for my car because. I'm grateful for money in the bank because. I'm grateful for my health because. And after the because, say why. What is the reason? Now, the first question, I'm grateful for, that's a left brain question. That's a rational, analytical question. And that's the part of your mind that answers that. The second question is not for your rational, analytical mind to answer, because it can't. The second question goes down from your conscious mind to your subconscious. It goes to your intuitive, imaginative, the more spiritual side of you, the subconscious. And that's talking about your values. So what comes after because is going to be about your values. You're going to be speaking about your values because it's your values that makes something you appreciate. It's your values that are being honored that makes that important to you. So that's an easy way to take a quick cut at what are some of your values. And you'll find things like family and freedom and beauty and nature and integrity and honesty and things like that are going to come up, you know. Good?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. English teachers love home assignments. So, my dear friends, this will be your home assignment. We will prepare the playback of this webinar so that you can watch it again, and we will post it online in our Facebook group and in general in our social media groups. And your home assignment will be to do this exercise and to share your values with us, and I will share mine. So, we will have something to discuss, but you will know for sure which students you have to look for. So who your students are, because they must have, I don't want to say identical values, but it really helps if they believe in the same things. Yeah. Okay. So I hope that this is a huge topic and we can discuss it forever, but I believe that at least now you have um, an idea about how to deal with this fear of competition. You simply have to realize that you are unique. You have your own strengths, you have your own advantages, and you have to learn how to appreciate these advantages and these strengths because they will really make you a marvelous teacher for your specific students. You must just find them.
Mila, this may be a little too spiritual for people, but you just described this as fear of competition. And if you want an extra credit assignment, since you love to give assignments and extra credit assignments, take a look at you going out into the world as an English teacher and write down another list. Write down the things that concern you. Write down the problems. Write down the worries, the doubts that you have. Just write a couple of them down. We've been talking about competition. That's one. You can't compete against a native speaker. There are people who've been doing this for 10 years and have a very sophisticated system. There are people with very sexy websites and impressive statistics and whatever. Write down these concerns that you have, these worries that you have. And I can promise you that every single one of them will be based on in fear. The source of those worries, the source of your limiting beliefs source of your negative thoughts about succeeding in your business, about starting your business, about how to operate your business, every one of those things will be based in fear. So, what's the opposite of fear?
Face.
What do you think is the opposite of fear? Good evening.
Courage. Oh, okay.
Courage.
Honest suggestion is courage.
Confidence. Anybody else? Anna, Allah. Vera, knowledge. Optimism, self-confidence. Haven't gotten the magic answer yet. Fearlessness, hope. Knowing yourself. All right, one more. Ah! Olena, stop now. Olena got it. She gets the gold star. Olena, thank you, thank you, thank you. The opposite of fear is love. And so the antidote, if you will, or the snake bite of fear is love. So take all of these concerns and playfully, with your imagination, imagine what the antidote of love would look like. So you've got these doubts, there are these problems, these things that are wrong, flip them. And what would it be like if you brought love to that party? If you loved that, what would it look like if you loved it? You know how many people, their relationship with money is based on fear. Not having enough, losing what they have, never getting more, all these things about money, right? Well, if they shift their relationship to money to one of love, so for instance, I pay a bill and it's based in fear. If I don't pay this bill, they'll kick me out of my house or they'll cut off my electricity. It's all wrapped up around fear. Or even going into the store and buying groceries, and you give them the cash, you give them the credit card, and you're doing it with fear. God, this is so expensive. I hope more money comes in. That's all around fear. So a thing to begin to practice and take little baby steps. Just do this in baby steps. Don't try and love the whole world right away. But look at these things. Where can you put love in here? So, do you love teaching English? Do you love empowering your students to become better English speakers? Do you love the possibilities that social or professional that opens up for them in their lives? Do you love this part of being a teacher, like creating lesson plans or having these neat ideas for new exercises or having little breakthroughs in understanding of this concept or that concept? Focus on what it is you love about it and infuse your work with what you love and set aside that fear. Turn that fear upside down. And the only way to do that is with love. And yes, that is the secret, but it's not really.
Okay, thank you. So that's the end probably of our today's meeting, but we hope that we will have a kind of a continuation. You remember that you have your home assignment. And Two of them. Yes. Yes, you have two of them. And what I would like you to do now is to share with us one takeaway, one thing that was really important for you today, something that you're going to keep and to consider. And you think that this was the most important, the most valuable thing that you have learned today with us. Can you please share with us in the chat? Because this is something that is really important for us. It's always good when you finish a meeting to know that the people who spend 1 hour of their time, and that's a lot, taking into account that we only have 24 during the day, and these 24 hours must be shared in between our family, our work, our hobbies. Well, spending 1 hour with somebody means that, well, you want to spend this hour for something good. So what was good? What was one thing that you're going to take away with you? Okay. Okay. I can see that we have quite a lot of different takeaways. Yeah, so we have thank you. Yeah.
I got one more thing that just is yelling inside my head. And that is, for all of you listening right now, ask yourself this question. What is the number one thing my students want? What is the number one thing my students want?
My students want freedom.
Freedom, love, and attention. What else? What's the number one thing students want? Being heard, result, comfort. No, John talks that slow all the time.
Alexei, it's not it's not like
work.
don't think that John thinks you do not understand English.
You heard and understood. Sharing their ideas. Well, all of those responses, being loved, all of those responses are great. And yes, being loved truly, that's the biggie. But here's the number one thing. And now let's get real practical and real professional. Here is the number one thing your students want. They want progress. They want to consistently, weekly, monthly get better and better and better. What happens if they don't? Have any of you been in business long enough to have students who didn't make progress? What do?
Drop out.
They quit.
Yeah.
Some of them even ask for their money back. Neither of which you like, neither of which will help your business. People in any course of improvement, in any field, what they want to see is progress. As long as they're making progress, you have given them what they want most. For the most part, they won't tell you that. They don't know that. We don't know. If you asked me, so John, what do you want from this course? My first answer is not going to be, I want to make progress. Well, I'm different. That would be my answer. That's all I want to do in my life is to make progress. I want to get better. I want to get better. I want to get better. And in the case of paying you to teach me English, I want to get better and better and better. So look for the ways, and Mila and I can talk to you more about that, but look for the ways where people can see, experience with beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're making progress, that they're better this week than they were last week. They're better today than they were a month ago. And you put your whole heart into a passionate commitment that they make progress. You just focus all you've got on it. You just love that one to life, that your people make progress. And I can promise you, it may take some time, maybe some bumps, but you will be successful if that is your passionate, if you are determined that your people will make progress and continue to get better and better and better and better, then it's just a question of time before you have the success you want.
Okay, thank you. I will answer one question in Russian because the question is asked in Russian for some strange reason. Татьяна, скажите, пожалуйста, а чего вопрос на русском? Мы заранее предупреждали, что
Speak English, damn it.
Мы заранее предупреждали, что язык вебинара английский. Ну, просто получается странная ситуация. Я не поняла суть вопроса. Что конкретно вы хотите узнать в этом вопросе? Считаем ли мы, что английский — это музыка, математика и интересный развивающий мышление язык? Любой язык интересный. Я знаю 8, мне кажется, что каждый из них интересный. Музыка, в каждом языке есть своя музыка, математика, но это не совсем математика, хотя у взрослого человека зона, которая отвечает за изучение иностранных языков, это та же самая зона, что отвечает за математические способности. Поэтому в чем суть вопроса? Давайте я попытаюсь на него ответить.
I did not understand a word of that.
Tatiana is asking if there is a question that I wanted to clarify. Tatiana is asking about whether English is music, mathematics, and an interesting and mind-developing language. And I told her that I believe that every language can develop your mind and your cognitive abilities. Any language has its own music. And language is not exactly mathematics, but the zone of the brain that is responsible for being good at math and learning a foreign language is actually the same zone. So to a certain extent, well, it is not mathematics, but it is based on algorithms for adults at least. But I wanted to clarify the question. Well, so that's it. Okay, so John has a huge course about teaching people how to listen to other people.
You got the book in Russian, right?
I think I have it in English. Yes, and we'll have a course with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Elena that asked, right?
Yeah.
Send her the book or send it to everybody.
Okay, we will make a little present to you. So John has a book which is called We Don't Listen and We Speak Too Much. So we will send you the book. It's a little crash course on listening to other people. Okay, thank you very much. And remember, you have 2 home assignments. So tomorrow we will have the playback on social media, and then we can discuss everything there. Thank you very much. Okay. Svetlana, you're not bad at math. You're good at math. The problem is that you probably have had bad teachers. So, because all people who are good at foreign languages are good at math. So, there are no exceptions. That is why you have to put up with it. Believe me, you are good at math. Okay, thank you and see you soon. Bye bye.
Пока.